Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Big show today. Two-time Kentucky Derby winner and Hall of Fame nominee Doug O'Neill and award-winning journalist Lenny Shulman. They'll be joining us soon. Ben Chafin's on lead guitar. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Kenny.
Thomas Kenny, our expert researcher. Mr. Thomas, you've been talking about some Derby horses that had their moments, and then we didn't hear much from them after that. That's how tough it is to win the Derby, and sometimes it's just that moment to shine, and that's all you get.
Yeah, the Derby is definitely one of the most unique races in horse racing, just because of how competitive it is. A lot of horses, such as Country House last year, don't actually go on to do much of anything after they win the Derby. Others include Always Dreaming, Nyquist, Orb, Super Saver, Mind That Bird, and Monarchos.
Wow. So is it 1.25 miles? The first time they'll try that? Is it running for the first time ever in front of 160,000 people? Or maybe most important, the biggest field they'll ever face? They'll never again run against 18 to 19 other challengers. What do you think? I don't know. I tell you who might know, Doug O'Neill. He's won the Derby twice, and he'll join us when we come back here on the Horse Racing Show. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. We're on episode 63, and this gentleman's been on a couple of times with us before. He's one of our favorite guests. He's one of the great trainers out there, and in just a few weeks from now, he'll know if he's in the Hall of Fame, and he should be and will be eventually, if not this time around. And he is Doug O'Neill, the two-time Derby winner, who joins us from California. Doug, welcome back in. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me, Kenny. Thank you. I know this is a crazy time for everyone all around the world. So it's a shared experience of stress and uniqueness, but we're trying to see the good in these crazy times.
Well, that's the only way to look at it. And you're one of the most upbeat people, not just in horse racing, but of all the people I've had the chance to meet over the years, you've always been positive. And when I first met you, I don't know, 20 some years ago out in California. And I think that's the best attitude. You should be going around doing like self-help things for all these people that are feeling bad right now.
You're too kind, Kenny. You got great energy, and it's really, I think, you can't only go outside when the sun is shining, and you gotta just be able to, have enough in reserves, from friendship and family and just realize every day you wake up and you're healthy and you can keep moving, it's a good day. So that's kind of what we're the approach we're taking. But all that being said, all the amazing heroes on the front lines, the doctors and nurses, these people working in the takeout restaurants and the supermarkets. I mean, they're doing all the hard work right now, and hats off to them. And but yeah, we are eager for some normalcy and horse racing to get back going on both coasts, and looking forward to that.
Well, I want to ask you, what is going on right now around the barn? And you would reflect like everybody's barn out in California and those in New York. There's no racing. You got to go to Arkansas to race. So what do you do with the horses and the help and everything else around your barn right now?
I know it is. It's a crazy situation, but credit to the Stronach Group, which I've bashed them in the past, and now I'm giving them a virtual hug right now because they've been able to keep the barn area at Santa Anita and Golden Gate and other tracks around the country open, which is so key because you've got a whole community back there. You just said Santa Anita alone, there's some 750 men and women who work alongside the horses, who live in the dormitories there at the track. And the way the business is set up, the racing, helps pay for the dormitories, helps pay for the medical benefits. And with no racing, it's the Stronach Group having to come out of their own pocket to keep all that going. So huge props to them for this. And, we're just hoping that, the health departments, as they continue to monitor things, will realize that actually the Stronach Group was ahead of the wave of everyone self-quarantining, because all the men and women, they're self-quarantined as it is because they live right there on the premises. And the Stronach Group has been above and beyond with the all the restrictions from the mask to the gloves to the, when the gloves are off, the hand sanitizers, you trip over the hand sanitizers in the barn area. They're all over the place. And they've restricted it to just the essential workers who work with the horses can go in there. No visitors, no, even the horse owners can't go visit their horses. So it's a really safe environment. And yeah, hats off to all the men and women that continue to care for the amazing horses.
Yeah, like you say, there's criticism, and there's been some fair criticism, not just to the Stronach Group, but to other places and people around horse racing. But a lot of people like Stronach Group has stepped up, and that is kind of the good to see in people. Hey, everybody's in that boat. We can talk about gyms, we can talk about restaurants. The one thing about horses, somebody's got to be there to care for them. It's like leaving your kid at home. You can't just leave it by itself. Somebody has to care for the horses, which I think makes horse racing, of all the sports that have been shut down right now, the most unique.
You're so right. And yeah, we're there for them, but in reality, they're there for us. I mean, they're amazing therapy for us in these uncertain times. And yeah, it's really, people expose themselves in these kind of situations, and I really think it's been a great thing to see the Stronach Group really expose their heart and their passion and stuff that maybe some of us had questioned a year and a half or so ago. But we're really getting to see if they truly wanted to shut down racing, there'd be no better time than right now. And instead, they're stepping up, and they're there for all the hardworking men and women that, again, use the dormitories there as they care for the horses, and for all the horsemen. And they're fighting to try to get racing back, because it is so crucial to the whole ecosystem of the barn area and of the horsemen, is that you need racing to help facilitate the dormitories and the stalls and the medical benefits and all the stuff that goes along with it. There's some 70,000 jobs in the state of California that are linked to California racing. So there's a lot at stake, and they're stepping up right now.
We're talking with Doug O'Neill, two-time Kentucky Derby winner, future Hall of Fame trainer. He is one of the finalists now. Do you think about that Hall of Fame much, Doug? I mean, what an honor just to be, you don't want to be cliched, but it is an honor to be nominated and be one of the finalists. And I think you're in. I voted for you. Not that you worry about who I was going to vote for, but I mean, given your career and your Breeders' Cup wins and all, I think it's just a given, and I hope it's soon for you.
Kenny, you're too kind. Yeah, it's more of a shock than anything. I've never even, I'd be lying if I said, "Oh, it's a dream come true," because it's never even something I've dreamt about. And but if that day ever comes, there'll be about 60 of us on stage, because it may have my name somewhere in there, but it's really it's been a boatload of people that have made the wins that we've been so lucky to have over the years. And yeah, so it's just cool. I just want to see all racing back going, and I think with all the reforms and all the social media attention on the little negatives that every business has, but our business has had, and I see so many corrections that have happened because of that. So I just think there's going to be a lot of great things are going to happen once the gates are back open, and we get this thing back going.
I know one person you're going to give a lot of thanks to is brother Dennis, the bloodstock agent, and the great relationship with the O'Neill brothers, and picking the horses and running the horses. It's really been an example and an inspiration for many.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. No, I give my brother so much grief privately, but publicly, I praise. No, he's I love him, and I've been blessed to through horse racing get to meet people in the basketball world and the hockey world and different other sports, and each one of those sports, it's so crucial to have scouts. You've got to be able to pick whether you're scouting players or scouting coaches or trainers or whatever. And Dennis, he does an amazing job of scouting future equine athletes for us, and both the Derby wins we've had were horses that he had picked out at sales. So he's a huge part of the team.
Well, I want to talk to you about your Derby winners. Do you have a few more minutes with us? We're going to take a quick break.
I'm self-quarantined. I got nothing to do.
Okay. We are too. We're all over the place. We got a studio that I'm not in. I'm at my home. We got a researcher at his home, and we've got Doug O'Neill on the phone with us. We'll be talking more with Doug right after this, but this reminder, one of our sponsors is West Point Thoroughbreds. You're interested in a horse racing partnership, contact former West Point cadet and Army Ranger Captain Terry Finley. He's been in the business since 1991. They've won over 875 races now, $53 million in purses. It's a fun, entertaining way at a fraction of the cost to own your own horse and with a bunch of people. You might make some new friends that way, too, and have some fun, success at the track. It's 518-583-6638 or go to westpointtv.com. More of the Horse Racing Show with our special guest, Doug O'Neill, right after this. And welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Glad that you're with us this week. Delighted to have one of my favorite people, Doug O'Neill, with us. He's a two-time Kentucky Derby winner, 5 Breeders' Cup championships. I don't think I slighted him one. He's a nominee for the Hall of Fame. And we were just talking about racing in general, how the Stronach Group has stepped up and some of the good things that's happening right now to take care of the employees on the racetrack. That's the big thing. But, Doug, we were talking earlier at the start of the show, our researchers looking up some things about how tough it is when you win that Derby for horses that, you know, have had their moment, but they didn't come back and have many moments after that. Is it the mile and a quarter? Is it all the people involved they're running against? Is it just that race takes a lot out of some good horses?
You know, it's that is a complicated thing to answer. But I think once they win the Kentucky Derby, I mean, it's like the pinnacle. It's, you know, even if nobody knows anything about horse racing, they've heard of the Kentucky Derby. So I think the horse, the connections, you know, when you get lucky enough and blessed enough to win a race like that, all eyes are on that horse, all the value, all the farms want a piece of them. So I think there's a lot that goes into shortening their career, which is a bummer, but, you know, it's part of, you know, it's the top of the mountain for a lot of male horses. And you know, it's hard. I guess the concern is if you push on and you get injured or something doesn't work out right, you know, now you just kind of zap that amazing moment in that horse's career. So I think there's something there.
Well, like Nyquist did 16 when you win it, you know, a special horse. I think he's the 8th undefeated winner of the Kentucky Derby. I mean, that's an accomplishment. And I saw him when he won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile out at Keeneland. You know, what a terrific horse, Nyquist. And what a, you know, kind of a daunting trail to get to the Derby for him and to keep undefeated and then go through and win the Roses undefeated.
I know. No, it was so cool. I mean, it's like, you know, being part of, you know, LeBron James's crew or something. You know, he just felt like we had a big team surrounded him on a daily basis. And you know, we knew he was special. He knew he was special. And, you know, when, you know, going into the Kentucky Derby, being undefeated, all eyes were on him. And he, you know, he just, he shined again. So, it wasn't long after that race that the phones were ringing out the hook to have him stand at their place. And so it's something I hope I get a blessing to be part of that again. But if I don't, I'll have another Nyquist. If I get it by a bus this afternoon, hopefully I don't. But I've lived my dream. Those are 2 great experiences.
I had the pleasure to interview you after both those Derby wins on NBC.
Man.
And I remember you told me, it was a great moment. You had your family around you, and it was just, you know, it's such a celebration to win the Derby, like you say. And I remember, I believe this is pretty close to what you told me, that what Nyquist was the stylish one, and I'll have another was more the blue collar one that won it for you in 2012.
God, it's so true. No, I mean, Nyquist was that kid that you know, out of high school, every college wanted him, and I'll have another was a walk-on at a junior college, and no one even looked at him. And So yeah, they definitely came from two different backgrounds, and but both of them gutty and competitive, and just would run through a wall for you. They were just war horses. So yeah, so blessed to have been part of them.
What I like most about Doug O'Neill. I'm speaking as if you're not listening, Doug. Uh, what I respect most is I never will forget also having to do another very tough interview with you, and that is when it was announced that I'll have another because of injury was not going to have a chance at the Triple Crown at the Belmont, and you handled that so graciously. I think sometimes it's easy when everybody's winning, and everybody's happy, and those are easy. But as gracious as you were in a very trying situation, you and Paul Redham, the owner, everyone just handled it in a tough situation, I think, incredibly well.
Thank you, Kenny. And it goes back to that, it's easy to go outside when the sun's out, but, you got to go out there when it's raining, when it's snowing, and when it's windy, and you gotta accept what it is. And I remember at the moment that we realized the right move was to not move on. It was definitely a bummer. And I called my dear friend Mark Verge, and after I talked to the Redhams, of course, and he was the first one who was like, we were bummed together, but quickly he was like, God, you got to remember where this horse has taken you. And we just started going through the races and the events and the places and the people we met. And God, by the end of the conversation, I was just back beaming again. So yeah, it's just really not forgetting the road that got you there, and some of it was bumpy, but a lot of it was amazing. So yeah, just trying to focus on the great times.
I'm going to tell you about my friend who's going to come by your barn when all this is settled. He wants you to meet him, the former UFC heavyweight champ, Boss Rutan.
Oh, yeah.
He's made one bet in his life. One bet. He bet $200 on I'll have another to win the Santa Anita Derby.
Oh, man. I love Boss. All right. I love him more than I did before this conversation.
He was, hey, I got to get you two together because he was, I was doing that race that day for NBC. Another one of my many fun Doug O'Neill interviews. And so I see Boss beforehand, and I said, yeah, I kind of like this. I'll have another. And he said, yeah, I love that name. So he went up and bet, and Boss had never bet. And he really didn't even know how much money he was going to win. And when he went up to the winner, when he went to the window, I forgot what the odds were. He was more than happy with a 4-figure return.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Oh, man, is he a California guy?
He's a California guy. He's out there in Thousand Oaks. That's where his gym is. And yeah, so he's not all that far away.
Man, but, good stuff.
And, that is the good stuff about a business. I think horse racing right now might have a chance because it's the only live betting action that people in America have right now. I think we were down to like Russian hockey and obscure soccer matches. I think Vegas is going to start doing these esports bets. I mean, they're running out of stuff to do out there without a race book or a very limited race book.
I know. Okay. And I'm so sick too. Watching the NBA had that horse competition thing the other day, and as silly as that was, I was glued to my TV like, all right, what's the next shot they're going to do? Who's going to make it? Who's not? So, yeah, there's something in our genes, I think, where just nothing better than having a little bit of action on some competitive sports. And I think it takes our minds off some of the craziness going on, and B, just seeing that live, kind of shared experience of it's happening right now is there's nothing better than sports.
Talking with Doug O'Neill, the great trainer. He's won 2 derbies, multiple Breeders' Cup champs, had I'll Have Another in Nyquist in the Winner's Circle at Churchill Downs first Saturday in May. And Doug, this is what every trainer that has a Derby contender is going through right now. As you know, even 2 or 3 weeks out, even the week out of the Derby in its regular time is always a very crucial time. Now, who knows 4 months down the road if all comes together, and we certainly hope so by then. They run it on the first Saturday in September. Everything goes out the window, I guess, as far as anybody's game plan right now.
Yeah, it's a unique situation, and it's kind of opened up the door for people that maybe have late developing 3-year-olds could still maybe find their way there. But it's still, whether it's first Saturday in May or first Saturday in September, when that day comes around and when that week leading up to it comes around, it's going to be awesome and exciting. And yeah, so I'm sure that picture will change a lot between now and September, but it'll be awesome.
Do you have a favorite? I mean, you win 2 derbies, so I know that one of my favorite moments is when your son said he wanted a hot tub after I'll have another one.
Yes, yeah, that actually, we still have the hot tub here, and yeah, that was a pretty cool moment. Just the kids were at such a fun age, and my nephew was there with us too. He's and then yeah, they were just such a cool experience. Coach Patino was there at University of Louisville, so we got to see some of the practices, and they had won the national championship, and yeah, it just endless amounts of great moments that year. I'll have another in 2012, so that is probably would be my highlight. Nyquist was awesome, but he again came in like the number 1 pick in the draft, and all eyes are on him, and he got the job done. But I'll have another was just kind of that when you felt down and out and you felt like you couldn't do a particular thing, you just had to think about him, the way he kept fighting, and very inspirational.
And really the perfect example for our times right now. I'll have another.
Yeah, no, I really think so. I think we're seeing each and every day some amazing, great stories, some great new tests that are on the market, some just restaurants that are buying lunch and dinner for hospitals out of nowhere, just anonymous stuff. And hey, you're really seeing the greatness in people and in these hard times. So look forward to that to continue, and then live sports to get back going. And I think it's kind of like hitting the reset button on humanity, and I think great things are ahead.
Doug, it's a pleasure catching up with you. Thanks for your time, and best wishes to you and yours. Stay healthy and safe, and we'll all get to see each other in person soon. Hopefully this summer at the induction in the Hall of Fame.
Sounds good. I appreciate that, Kenny. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
Doug O'Neill, the multiple Derby winning and Breeders' Cup winning trainer, joining us here on the Horse Racing Show, which is sponsored in part by West Point Thoroughbreds. If you're looking for a partnership, something that's affordable, you spend some money, but you don't go to great risk because you're sharing the cost with others, well, that's what a syndication is all about. And one of the best in the business is Terry Finley. He's been doing it since 1991 at West Point Thoroughbreds. They've won over $53 million in purses. You could be part of their next winner's circle. Dial them at 518-583-6638 or go to westpointeb.com. We'll be back with more of the Horse Racing Show right after this. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show, episode 63. This man has been on the show several times. He actually came to the bunker. He's been in person with us all but this time. We're all self-quarantined. Somewhere in Nonsuch, Kentucky is the award-winning journalist with the Blood Horse, other publications. He's the author of Ride of Their Lives, a great story about jockeys, a couple of great novels, Long Way from Home and Point, and I think the best horse racing book ever written about Justify. He is Lenny Shulman. Hello, Lenny.
Hey, good afternoon, Kenny. How you doing?
Well, I'm like you. I'm sequestered. I'm just locked into my house. I can't get out. I'm peering over the fence. I'm just, trying to stay away. I'm wearing a mask as I talk, so you're all safe.
The problem. I've been trying to eat with those masks on. It really doesn't work out that well.
They need they need to put like the hole that kind of goes in, then it closes back up. You'd think they'd come up with a mask like that.
Yeah, like an epiglottis.
Yes, exactly.
I need surgery on my mask. I have an entrapped mask.
Waiter, there's a fly in my soup. What's he doing? The backstroke.
I have lentil vegetables on my mask. I can't figure this out.
Hopefully we can all have a good laugh pretty soon about this and get it over with, Lenny. This has just been obviously unprecedented, and I don't know what anybody's doing. Everybody's trying to figure out where their horse is going next. Arkansas is about the only place to go right now, but about the Derby 4 months from now, you couldn't have written a novel like this. It would have been fiction.
I think there are. There's a lot of kind of pandemic horror stories out there, but when the horse racing world is up in arms over some disqualification at Fonner Park, things are a little bizarre. Like, what the hell are these people talking about? Oh my God, there's a Big 5 disqualification at Fonner Park. Are you kidding me or what?
That's because I couldn't get the Russian hockey bet down, so that's all I had.
I'm actually running squirrel races here Friday. I think I can handle 200-300 grand on
it. I always bet the gray. Wait a minute.
Yeah, just go to twinsquirrels.com and sign up.
The scary part about this, there'll be a few people listening that will be searching for that website.
Yeah. No, well, I was thinking about this, Kenny. I mean, when we do come back online with major racing, man, there's going to be people who have saved a lot of money, I think, and we're just going to be firing away because people have got to be building up a serious bankroll.
Hey, that's a good point, because right now, what do you do?
Fonner Park, the Big 5 at Fonner Park, I guess. I don't know, but people have got to be clawing to get back to action here at some point. So maybe it will be very robust, when we do get back to normal.
Because right now, nobody knows what normal is. I mean, it's been, I keep seeing the helicopter circling by with Cuba Gooding Jr. and Dustin Hoffman in it and try to warn us. But,
No, it's true. And if I try not to do too much of listening to news, but you have to do a little. But, clearly, live sports with mass crowds are going to be the last thing that come back. And, I really wonder about even planning for a Kentucky Derby in September. And I don't know that you could do that safely at this point. And, I don't know how you feel. You're a guy who, your normal job would be talking to dozens of people at very close distances and moving around and passing thousands of people. I don't know how you would feel at this point about going back to work.
Well, I want everybody tested. I want to put big letters on their head, passed or failed. We're going to get to that point. I try not to be too alarmed about it. I feel that, trying to beat the odds. I'm not playing this lightly. I'm staying away from people as much as possible. It's funny. I can go to like the grocery store or like to a hardware store, to get a few things, try to do some yard work. There's as many people there probably as at some of the tracks that we've been to over the years. I feel like I've done by more people in Kroger and Lowe's than I had at, some of the racetracks. There are more people there than at Sunland Park.
You're actually in a bad position because I've been out with you around Lexington and everybody recognizes you. So you have to worry about people coming up to you who you don't necessarily want to be coming up to you at this point.
The hazmat suit has worked well that you got me, Lenny. It's people have stayed away.
That is the beautiful thing. Everybody, well, not everybody, a lot more people are wearing masks at the grocery store now, but a couple of weeks ago, I started wearing one, and it was beautiful because people just went the other way. They didn't want to get anywhere near you, which was just fine with me.
We're talking with Lenny Shulman, the noted journalist, Emmy Award winner, and writer of many books, including Justified, which is still one of my favorite books. And if somebody wanted to buy it, like this is a good time, you're sitting at home, probably for at least another 2 to 3 weeks, all of us, I would recommend going to check out one of your books, be it Justify, Ride of Their Lives, Long Way from Home, or Point. And how can they do that, Lenny, if they wanted to?
Yeah, so the easiest way, especially now, where you don't want to be going into bricks and mortar stores, is go to Amazon. Amazon has all of those titles, and I think that all of those books have been deemed essential services now. So you can I think you can get them in a matter of minutes. There'll be a truck rolling up to your door if you order them. So yeah, it is a good time to catch up on some reading. That's for sure. And I'll give you a scoop, Kenny. I'm actually working on my next book as we speak, and I'm actually very excited about it. It's a compilation of interviews that I've done over my 20 years with the Blood Horse, and I hope to be signing a contract with the UK Press any day now to publish it. We don't have a official title. Unofficially, I call it Voices, but it's going to be about 35 interviews with people who I've done through the years, and it's just going to be kind of the raw question and answers that I did with them, and it's really a very interesting roster of people through the years, and I'm pretty excited about it. Going over the material, there's a lot of great stuff there.
And I look forward to that because I always enjoy your work. I like to read you and the interviews. I mean, some of the fascinating people you've interviewed. I don't even know if you could. I don't even know if you could pick a top five of some of the interviews you've done. I mean, I have some stories, the David Milch story, the Charlie Whittingham. A couple of those jump out, but I'd be hard pressed to pick like your top five of all the ones I've read over the years.
Yeah, well, I've broken it down into 7 or 8 sections, and it surprised me. One of the sections is celebrities who I've talked to who, obviously have had some presence in the horse racing industry, and you named David Milch as one. Some of these people I kind of forgot that I talked to. Joe Torre is in there. Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos and Goodfellas, of course. The great Sam Shepard, who was a horse breeder for many years. Rick Pitino may not be that popular in Lexington, but he's had a long history in the.
We got a big Iona audience, by the way, so it's all right.
There you go. Yeah, Providence and Iona. There you go. Bo Derek, I've talked to. So yeah, there's been Jenny Craig. There's actually been a lot of celebrities through the years, which surprised me. Not counting you.
And not counting you. I was thinking like I met Don Amici once. What a nice man. That was way back in '93 at Santa Anita at '93. He was out there watching his filly that morning gallop around, leading up to the Breeders' Cup, and we talked about one of really a movie I still will watch, even though it's hard to find these days. I've got it somewhere on VHS, Lenny. I've still got that. Yeah. Things Change, a David Mamet movie. Things Change. That'd be a recommendation if you're listening out there in Netflix land. You might want to look it up. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, his grandson actually is still in the business and breeds some stakes winners every now and again.
Yeah, I mean that's been the people around the game have always interested me as much as anything. Be it the owner, the breeder, or someone they know, and that's still to me what I think could drive the game even more is to get the people out there as much as the horses themselves, if that makes sense. Because we know we have another Triple Crown winner like Justify. He's going to the breeding shed. He's not going to be running in the summer. He's not going to be going for the Grand Slam at the Breeders' Cup, in my opinion.
Well, this year's Triple Crown winner will be running over the summer because we won't know who he is yet. So.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We talked about can the 3-year-old stay through can they make it through the Haskell and the Jim Dandy and the Travers? This year they better if they want to get to Kentucky.
Yeah, this is really topsy-turvy stuff here, and we don't know about the Preakness. We don't know about the Belmont. If and when there will be those races, it's going to be pretty tough to shoehorn those in between when the Derby's supposed to run and when the Breeders' Cup is supposed to run. So, but who knows? I mean, it's just impossible. As you mentioned David Milch, whose favorite line was always, if you want to hear God laugh, just tell him your plans. And that's never more true than now because there's really nobody who can be making plans with any sort of certainty of any kind at this point.
The only thing I'm certain about, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with more with the award-winning journalist and novelist Lenny Shulman right here on the Horse Racing Show. Do not go away. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Glad that you're with us. talking with my good friend Lenny Shulman. Perhaps you've read one of his books. This is a good time to do it. I would suggest Justify. I really like that book.
Yeah, it's that was really a labor of love, and he's such an interesting horse. It's just these horses who leave us so quickly. It's all conjecture what they are, what they could have turned into. But I think in his case, it really was a shame that he left the racetrack so early, because he to me would have been one of the real all-time great horses.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about your two novels, Long Way from Home and Points, which I enjoyed very much as well. You got another one on the back burner right now that you're working on. We talked about you've got the compilation of interviews that you did at the Blood Horse that'll be coming out, we hope, soon, or at least in the works.
Yeah. So actually, the other thing I'm working on is a children's book. I decided to switch gears a little bit, and it is a fictional book, but it's the story of the friendship between a racehorse and a Labrador Retriever, and it actually came to me one day when I was walking my dogs, and the horse on the other side of the fence here. There's a boarding place here, and that big gray filly, and she would always stick her head through the fence to play with my Labrador puppy, and it just struck me, hey, there might be a story here. So kind of switched gears and decided to see if I could write a children's book, and so that's been fun to work on. So hopefully I'll have that coming out at some point.
And and a children's book will appeal to most of our friends who read at that level.
Yeah, for the horse business, it's perfect, actually. And there'll be pictures, I think, also. So.
Oh, that's even better. If it comes in the coloring section, where you get the crayon, it'll be a bestseller. What color's the gray horse? Let me see.
That's funny. We were talking about these interviews that I've done through the years, and one of them was with Bobby Frankel, who's certainly one of mine and a lot of people's most unforgettable characters. But as I was going back over that, it made me realize that Bobby was one of the few people, in the barn area that you could talk to about topics other than horses. In fact, he didn't want to talk about horses most of the time when you were with him, and he was just so unique in that way. There was a guy who would do anything to get away from talking about horses for a couple of hours.
My best interviews with him was at the barn without a camera around, without a microphone, just like you said. We talk about baseball cards and everything else, and then it was hard. It was like pulling teeth to get him to do an interview on air, and that was just him.
Well, I don't know if I've told you this story, Kenny, or if we have time, but the year he had Medaglia d'Oro as a 3-year-old, the horse wasn't right. We were coming up to the Preakness. There was something wrong with the horse, but the owner wanted to run the horse. Bobby didn't. And he didn't ship the horse to Baltimore till the day of the Preakness. And he was in his own barn away from the stakes barn. And he didn't want to talk to anybody about horses. And Steve Haskin and I walked around. We went to his barn early in the afternoon. We're talking about Italian food, and we're talking about kosher food, and we're talking about family histories. And Mike, your friend Mike Battaglia, had the onerous job of interviewing Bobby that day for the NBC show. And
yeah.
He would stick his head in that barn every hour. Hey, Bobby, can we talk? Yeah, maybe a little later. 45 minutes later, Bobby, can we talk? Nah, not right now. And Mike is staring at Haskin and I, and we're sitting on these bales of hay in the barn, and you can just see in his mind, he's going, how the hell are these guys talking to you for 3 hours? and I can't get a lousy 5-minute interview on NBC on national TV, to talk about Italian PR. Never did the interview, and the next thing we do, the loudspeakers like trainers bring your horses for the Preakness. And Haskett and Frankel, I just looked at each other. We just killed the entire afternoon bull. Well, I won't say it. But Mike was just beside himself. He just couldn't figure out why Bobby wouldn't talk about his horse.
And as much as I always liked Bobby and certainly respected him, I too did never want the assignment of having to be with him. I love to talk to him at the bar, like you say, but it was tough. It was a tough interview. Not Chip Woolley tough. That's still the toughest interview in the history of interviews. The most disgruntled man to ever win the Kentucky Derby when he won with Mind That Bird. The happiest Derby winner ever.
Steve Haskett I don't know if you read it, Kenny. But,
I read it.
Yeah, he just referenced that episode on bloodhorse.com in his blog this week about just how, I don't want to say nasty, but Chip Woolley was not a happy interview even after winning the Derby. It's kind of like the Barry Irwin award for that year.
That's right. Yeah. Well, Chip, he told me, he said, I want to be up there with Bob Costas. I said, we all want to be up there with Bob, but you're with me, and trust me, NBC's controlling this. I'm going to interview you. Then you'll go up there with the owners, and Bob will present the trophy, and then maybe ask you a question. When will that be? After I do the interview here and we take a commercial. It'll probably be another 8-10 minutes. Well, I don't know if I can wait that long. This was the conversation we were having while Donna Brothers was interviewing Calvin Burrell on the track. And I remember I slipped my left hand because remember Chip was on crutches because he had the broken foot.
Yeah.
And he had his crutch in his right hand. So I slipped my hand between his arm and his crutch. And I figured if he's going, we're all going,
He was in a worse mood than Steve Coburn after he lost to Belmont.
Coburn was a much more entertaining interview for me.
Well, there are other factors involved, but you've had some tough ones there. But Bobby was great. But if you didn't want to talk, you didn't want to talk. And that day, he definitely didn't want to talk. So.
Unlike Neil Drysdale, who always wanted to talk. That was a tough interview. Fusaichi Pegasus this year. I was doing ESPN work that year. That was a tough interview.
That is not a tough one. Fortunately, I guess on this show you have a much easier one with Doug O'Neill, who was quite happy after winning the two derbies that he's won so far. So.
He's a delight, and I hope he gets into the Hall of Fame this year. And yeah, I am biased, and I did vote for him, but I think he deserves it. I hope he gets in.
Yeah, we've talked about this, and when you're a Hall of Fame voter, they send out kind of some sheets of people's accomplishments. I'll tell you, Doug O'Neill on the paperwork deserves to be in there big time. Not only the two Derby winners, but an awful lot of impressive Breeders' Cup records and a hell of a lot of stakes wins and big horses out in California. So, best of luck to Doug to get in. He's certainly deserving.
Lenny, thank you again for being on with us. And I look forward to catching up in person where we can eat soup through our masks and tell some more stories.
I hope that happens soon, Kenny.
All right. Thank you. And I look forward to the books coming out, all your interviews. That'll be a good one. We'll talk more about that for certain. Anyway, thank you, Lenny Shulman. We're going to have more on the Horse Racing Show right after this. Thanks for being with us for the Horse Racing Show. Thanks, Doug O'Neill and Lenny Shulman. Thomas Kenny, did you have a good time?
It was wonderful.
It's tough to win that Derby, isn't it?
Probably the most difficult race in, the world, I'd say.
I think it is. With all given, it'll be really difficult this year to keep those 3-year-olds around till the 1st of September. We'll talk more about that. Thank you again, Ben Chaffins.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thank you all for tuning in. Hope everybody stays safe out there and healthy and happy. And we look forward to talking to you again next week with more great guests that you can only hear on the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. So long, everyone.